gonna make this one a short one, though I can provide no guarantees as I like to fish my ideas and that can take quite a while. But right now I'm out of ideas of what to say. Um, Oh, actually, there was this one conversation I had with a friend. Uh, I was uh, I was teasing them about something. I forgot what it was, but they didn't feel too good about it. So I was like, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do it like that. To me, it was just a misunderstanding. But I wouldn't say we got into a fight, but simply we didn't really, um, or rather, she was not on very good terms. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but it came to the point where I started talking about what um, her reaction said about her. Um, Basically, when someone oversteps your boundaries and you get angry about it, it simply means that you desire respect. And I noticed from all the people who get angry when their boundaries are stepped on, all kind of have a similar sort of backstory. She actually confirmed that. Um, yeah, being made fun of in childhood, and overall, I guess not shyness necessarily, but trying to remember the word that she used. I don't know, but the basic idea is that um, in your childhood, when you're not taken seriously, you want respect, and that translates into your adulthood, or even before that. Um, Reacting by being angry when someone pushes your boundaries, and that's not the same for everyone. Um, like for me, I don't have that. I'm more of the kind of person who gets sad instead. Um, there's other people who just laugh, like laugh in pain. Um, I'm sure there's like several other kinds of reactions to it, but or others that kind of like take it dead seriously and feel empowered by it. But when someone pushes their boundaries because they feel like someone did them a favor by recognizing what their weak points are, and they feel motivated to actually change them. I don't know. There's different ways to react to it, and how we naturally react to it is mostly molded by how we were brought up in childhood, I suppose. Um, like in my case, I can't, or let me think, because reacting in a sad way usually means that you desire to be remembered. You desire recognition in that sense. like the biggest fear is to die and be forgotten. I suppose that stems from a feeling of loneliness and I suppose shyness also. Um, Generally feeling like uh, or rather being treated as an outcast. And most of these things aren't necessarily stuff that happens to us, but simply how we perceive ourselves with other people. Like, yeah, as a kid, I was pretty shy, and in many ways, I still am now. But yeah, as a kid, I was shy, and that would um, I guess it's more notorious when I grew up more in starting from middle school and onwards, I think, where I couldn't really, or I would get along well with people, but up to a certain point, then I just wanted things to be um, done well because I like having recognition, and so I forced myself into being very skillful and having recognition based on achievements, and so much so that it actually made me be farther away than uh, from other people in my school. And yeah, I guess in that sense, kind of felt like an outcast, but that was self-created. But then again, even at that point, I was already looking for recognition, so I'm trying to think what it could be. Have to be something before that spawned that desire for recognition. Um, I don't know, and I don't really care at this moment. Um, but anyways, the conversation with my friend um, evolved into the question is like, well, what do you do about that? Is it necessary um, to react differently when someone pushes your boundaries? Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing that we react a certain way, or is there something else that we should do? And I said that it's not necessarily that there's something wrong with it. It's just that when you keep reacting in whatever way that we do, it pushes away a lot of people, and the ones who stay are the ones who are basically most compatible with us in all sense of the word. And that's fine. It doesn't really matter. But in another sense, there's the kind of person who doesn't have boundaries at all. And these types of people tend to be very, these people tend to be very happy, happier than most, simply because they are untouchable. There's no way to damage them. These kinds of people are the ones who don't really have much of a sense of individuality. Because you can be completely selfless, but if you still have a sense of individuality, then that in of itself is still a boundary that can be pushed. I guess it kind of comes down to the idea of a person who believes that they are unique and different to um, the rest of the world. And then there's people who believe that they are nothing more than part of a process of the development of the cosmos. And essentially, these two kinds of people are ones who have a sense of individuality, and the others like who have no sense of individuality. And the reason why I'm saying that individuality is considered a boundary is because when he okay okay, someone who is an individual, someone who is unique and considers himself different from the rest of the world, that inherently means being significant. While in the other case, where you perceive yourself simply to be part of the process of the development of cosmos, then who you are and all that is pretty much insignificant when compared to such a large thing, the cosmos. So significance versus insignificance. A person who has a sense of individuality, a person who perceives himself to be significant in some small way, no matter how large or small, they perceive themselves still to be significant. So if you tell them that they're insignificant, then you can see how that can go bad. So yeah, simply dividing yourself from the rest of the world inherently makes you into something that can be moved. Kind of like a rock versus water. A rock can be extremely solid and very hard to break, but at some point it will break. But when it comes to water, there is nothing that can break it. There's nothing that can damage the water in the same way that the rock would be damaged. Being incredibly strong versus being completely untouchable. Which one has a life of less friction? The one that's untouchable. And that's pretty much what I said to her, and that's what I'm striving for, to be untouchable in that sense. That's going to take some deep work. I have to understand first where the nature of my reaction comes from. That's a thing I'm going to do some other day. But for now, I guess it's considered like psychology work, or maybe even an integration of the shadow self, as described by Mr. Carl Jung. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't think there is much more to say about this. But I mean, sort of all these, you could say, assumptions that I'm making, they're based upon really on how people think, how they react, and what they experience because of it in different scenarios. taking the framework from multiple philosophies, strategies, and and mindsets, you can kind of see where if you do one thing, it leads to another. So what I've said in this video is based upon like a coalition of all of these different things that I've dabbled on. Like you heard me talking about Stoicism, that has had an influence. Mindset stuff has been primarily from Deadlock. Strategies, I would say several of Robert Greene's books. The Art of War, and my own experience in athletic competition, tennis. Trying to boil down the nature of who we are, based upon the idea that we are people who are created, therefore we can recreate ourselves in whatever way that we want. And based on that idea, it is kind of goes into a different form of marketing, because usually in marketing you don't really try to convert a person to become a different kind of person, but rather you set out like a homing beacon where the people that you want to do business with you are attracted to that signal. So that's usually how marketing works. At least organic marketing is primarily how that's done. And even stuff like interruption marketing, like billboards you see on the highway, or TV ads where nobody asks for it, but the ad just pops up there in front of you. The people who go there and actually buy are people who have a particular way of thinking and a particular sets of desires because of that. So they go into the ad and end up buying the product or service or whatever it is. So that's usually how marketing works. It doesn't concern itself about changing people, but rather simply having an idea of who you want to work with and making yourself findable. I'd say that's quite a bit easier. But when it comes to changing a person, I feel that's primarily the role of education in that sense. Like, yeah, you have people who already have an idea of what they want to do, and they start to revolve their entire lives and way of thinking around that. But there's also the part where you can convert a person from one discipline into another, or from having no particular set of aspirations to having a very specific one. And even when you are being mentored in one particular discipline and you go through it, you'll find that there is, if it is a good mentorship program, it changes the way that you perceive things and how you perceive yourself, getting a more holistic approach in in terms of mindset, because the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you're not willing to let go of yet. And that generally boils down to mindsets that we have that limit us from doing the right things to be able to get to where we want to get to. So yes, that is something very important, and I feel that's changing people is primarily the role of education, while marketing, you only concern yourself about pretty much just standing your ground and say, hey, I'm here, come with me, or don't come at all. So that's a very simplistic approach that I'm telling you, but that's what it all means. So hope that has been helpful for you in clarifying some doubts. And yeah, let me know in the comments below some questions that you may have about marketing and successful mindsets in general. I can always use more ideas to talk about, but I'll always have something to talk about, even when I say I don't. We're good. So toodaloo for now, and probably see you tomorrow.